Hi everyone, I hope you've enjoyed the Winston story so far. I'm Miss Spencer and I'm going to read chapter 12 to you, which is called A Splash and Splatter. Winston continued scampering down the road to Fortescue's as fast as he could. His breath billowed out in front of him in great plumes of warm fog. He imagined for a moment that he was one of the enormous trains that huffed and puffed in and out of the city from the busy stations dotted around town. His feet pitter-pattered along the pavement and, with his important letter tucked under his arm, Winston felt a bit giddy knowing that his mission would soon be completed. He noticed that some of the people he passed were carrying parcels wrapped up in the jazziest paper, many of which were adorned with ribbons and crinkly bows. He wondered what could be inside the packages. What surprises lay inside for the recipients when they ripped off the paper in the morning? Winston waggled his ears with excitement. With any luck, if he did his job right, the writer of the letter he was carrying would be waking up to similarly dressed parcels in the morning because he, Winston, had done a good job. Unfortunately, Winston's excitement didn't last long. As he pattered along the pavement thinking about silk ribbons and sparkly paper, a bus full of excited Christmassy people whizzed towards him. As it drew near, the driver accidentally steered just that little bit too close to the edge of the road, where slushy, half-melted, muddy snow was lying in a big, puddly mess. The wheels threw a great splash of the icy snow water up in the air, which then splattered across the pavement. Most of the people managed to hop out of the way in time, but not Winston. The slush landed all over him. It was freezing cold and not one bit of him escaped it. He was coated from nose to tail in filthy ice water. Winston shook himself and wiped his eyes with the back of a paw. Thankfully, because the letter he was carrying had been rolled up under his arm, it wasn't too splattered with muck. Winston unravelled it and gave it a good shake, but this was his big mistake. He heard another van whizzing along the street beside him. There was no way Winston was going to be splattered again, so he dived out the way. But the envelope slipped out of his wet paws. It was lifted high into the air above him before being snatched by a chilly puff of wind. "No!" squeaked Winston. He leapt up to try and grab it, but it was too high. Horrified, all Winston could do was stand covered in dripping, muddy puddle water and watch as the wind blew the letter into the road. It fluttered about, buffeted against the sides of vehicles and whipped off windscreens by busy wipers before slapping to a halt against the traffic light pole in the middle of the street. He had to get it back, and the only way to do that was to cross the busy road himself and try not to get squished in the process. Winston gulped. I hope you enjoy the rest of the story, and I hope everyone celebrating has a lovely Christmas.